Hello, sports fans and baseball fans. It's me, Sportsman Z, Bob Zolke. And as promised in my previous video, where I gave you a look at the future of the videos being done on the channel, this is the all-time White Sox and the all-time Cubs are going at it. The visiting team will be the White Sox. The home team will be the Cubs, so we're in Wrigley Field. However, that doesn't really matter because I am not using the advanced game. I'm doing this with the basic set because some of the cards may not have all of the advanced ratings, and a couple might even be from a time when they didn't even have an advanced game. They just had the basic game. So we're going to do the basic game. All-time Cubs, all-time White Sox. The pitching matchup for this is going to be Doc White for the Chicago White Sox and Milt Pappas will be pitching for the Cubs. The lineup for the, we'll do the lineups as they come up. The lineup for the White Sox will be Luis Robert in center field leading off. Eddie Collins will bat second and play second. Batting third will be Frank Thomas, the DH. Batting in the cleanup spot will be Paul Konerko, the first baseman. After him, it comes Carlton Fisk, and he will be the catcher, obviously. Batting in the sixth spot will be Joe Jackson, shoeless Joe Jackson. And then in the seventh spot will be Robin Ventura and playing third base. And Luke Appling will bat eighth and play shortstop. And batting ninth will be Ping Bodie, and he will be in right field. So, with all of that said, let's get on with the game. So, the first batter is Luis Robert. He gets a 1-9, and that is going to be a fly to center. So, he is out, flying out to center field. Eddie Collins is the next batter. And he gets a 2-2, which is a foul out to the catcher. So he is out to number 2. There's 2 down quickly for the White Sox here. And Frank Thomas is up, and he gets a 2-12, and that is a fly ball to left field. So the White Sox go 1, 2, 3. They get 0 runs and 0 hits. And that will bring up the Cubs. So the Cubs in the bottom of the first and their lineup will be Ryne Sandberg leading off and playing second base. Ernie Banks will bat second and play shortstop. Batting third will be Billy Williams, the left fielder. Batting in the cleanup spot will be Hank Sauer, and he'll be the DH. Wildfire Schulte will play right field and bat fifth. Heine Zimmerman will bat sixth and be the third baseman. Mark Grace will be the first baseman batting seventh. Andy Pafko will play center field and bat eighth. And batting ninth will be Gabby Hartnett, the catcher. So we will get that one underway. And they will be facing Doc White of the White Sox. And that is a 5-7. Sandberg gets off of Doc White, and that's going to be a ground ball to second. Second baseman is a 1. And so 15 and a 1, I think that's actually an error. No, it is. No, it's not. I thought that was an error, but no, it isn't. He's out. He grounds out 4-3. Which brings up Ernie Banks. Let's play 2. Ernie Banks. And he gets a 3-6, which is going to be a triple. Ernie Banks legging out a triple. So the White Sox, or the Cubs, have an early shot here at getting a run. The next batter is Billy Williams. And he gets a 210, which is going to be a ground ball, second base A. That will, I don't think that allows the run to score, even with the infield back. Yeah, no runners are forced, so they hold. So that is going to be a ground out to second as well. And that brings up Hank Sauer. Hank Sauer with the power. He hit 31 home runs the year of this card, and that's a 1-8, which is a single, and it knocks in a run. So we'll mark that down. And the batter is Wildfire Schulte. And he gets a 2-8. I don't know if you could see that on the camera, but it is a 2-8, and that is a single, which will move Sauer to second base. And Doc White is getting his ass handed to him here. He's given up a lot of base runners and 1 run already. And Heine Zimmerman is the next batter. He gets a 3-8, which is a ground ball double play to the shortstop. Actually, it wouldn't be because there was already 2 outs. So it is a ground ball to short, so it's 6-3. They get 1 run, the Cubs do, on 2-3 hits. And it is 1-0. 1-0 Cubs after 1. Next up for the White Sox is Paul Konerko. And he gets a 1-9, which is a strikeout. Strikeout for Pappas, that's his first. It's actually the first strikeout in the game by either pitcher. And that brings up Carlton Fisk. And he gets a 4-6 on Pappas, which will be a single. So Pudge is aboard. Pappas gives up his first hit. And Joe Jackson, Shoeless Joe, is up. And he gets a 3-2, which is a line out into as many outs as possible, which will be a line out to first base and 2 outs. And that is going to end the inning. So they get no runs on 1 hit, and we go to the bottom of the second. With the Cubs batting, Mark Grace will be the batter. He gets a 3-4, which is a ground ball to the pitcher, so he's out 1-3. Andy Pafko is the batter. He gets a 6-11 on Doc White, which is a fly ball to right. Our right fielder is a 3, and that is a 10. And that is going to be an out. He flies out to right, and Gabby Hartnett is up with 2 down and nobody on. And he gets a 2-8, which is a ground ball to the shortstop. 6-3, he's out. The Cubs get no runs, no hits. And we go to the top of the third. And Robin Ventura, the third baseman, will be the batter. And he gets a 2-8, which is a ground ball to the first baseman. That brings up Luke Appling. He gets a 2-8, which is a ground ball to the third baseman, 5-3. And Ping Bodie, the right fielder, is up. And he gets a 1-5, which is a single. So Ping Bodie is aboard. Hit given up by Pappas. and Lewis Roberto. And he gets a 110, which is a single. So now we've got 2 runners aboard. At first and second, I'm going to hold the runner at second. I could extend him to third, but I don't see the point. There's 2 outs, and 1-6 for Eddie Collins is a 1-base single. So the bases are loaded here for the White Sox. And Pappas has been getting hit, albeit with 2 outs already, and Frank Thomas up, and he gets a 6-6, and that will be a line out to second base. So that ends the threat. But we did get 3 hits. No runs, but 3 hits. And we go to the bottom of the third. In a 1-0 game with the Cubs, the all-time Cubs leading the all-time White Sox. Ryan Sandberg is the batter. He gets a 5-5, which will be a ground ball to short. Our shortstop is a 3, and the roll was a 4. So I don't like that combination. No, it's an out. So he's out 6-3. Which brings up Ernie Banks. He gets a 5-9, and that's going to be a ground ball to second. So he's out 4-3. 2 down quickly for the Cubs, and Billy Williams up. And that is a 2-3, and that's going to be a pop out to second base. So they get no runs and no hits, and they still maintain their 1-0 lead as we go to the top of the 4th inning with Konerko batting. That is a 2-5, and that's going to be a home run by Paul Konerko. Paul Konerko going deep. Pappas giving up the hit, the run, and the earned run. And Carlton Fisk up. He gets a 6-11. 6-11 on Pappas is a ground ball to the pitcher. So he's out 1-3. Pappas making the play, and shoeless Joe Jackson coming up with 1 out and nobody on. And that's a 5-9 by Jackson, which is a ground ball to second base. So he's out 4-3, and Ventura comes up. And that is going to be a 6-7, which is going to be a ground ball to their second baseman, who is a 1. And that is a 13. And that is an out, 4-3. So we do get 1 run on 1 hit, and it was the home run by Konerko that ties the game as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Hank Sauer is the batter. He gets a 3-6, and that is going to be a single. Sauer is aboard for Schulte with no outs, no 1 out. He gets a 5-7, and that is going to be a ground ball to second base. Our second baseman is a 1. That is a 10. Could be a double play. Probably is, and it is. So there are 2 down now with nobody on, and the batter is Zimmerman, Heine Zimmerman. And he gets a 6-7, and that is going to be a single. So after the double play, Zimmerman manages to get a hit and get on, which brings up Mark Grace. And he gets a 5-7, and that's going to be a ground ball to second. He's a 1, that's a 17, and that's the one base error. So that's going to be an E4. And there are runners at first and second with 2 down, and Andy Pafko up, and he gets a 6-5, and that will be a fly ball to right. So they get no runs, but they did manage to get 2 hits, and no runs come across. So that brings the White Sox up in the top of the 5th in a 1-1 game. Ventura is the batter. He gets a 3-9, which is a single. No, it's supposed to be Luke Appling, and that's a walk for Luke Appling. That's the first walk issued in the game by either pitcher, and Pappas is the unfortunate one that does that. Ping Bodie is up. It's a 1-5. That is a single. I'm, again, not going to try to stretch it. And Pappas giving up another hit. And Lewis Robert is up, and he gets a 4-7 on Pappas, which is going to be a double and knocks in another run for the White Sox. Again, I'm not going to try to extend it. I'm not going to try to be a hero here. We're just going to take the run that we get. And with runners at second and third and nobody out, I like our chances. So we want more than that, but Eddie Collins is the batter, and he gets a 1-12, which is a ground ball, second base A. That'll be 1 out. Frank Thomas up, and he gets a 5-10, and a 5-10 on Milt Pappas is going to be a fly ball to center. Their center fielder is a 3, and we rolled a 17. So let's see what that gets us. 17 and 3 is an out 1, but the runner advances, so it's a sac fly. And that sac fly scored Ping Bodie. And Paul Konerko is up. And that is a 5-8. 5-8. Now we have how many outs here? Just 1, right? No, 2. So 5-8 on Pappas is a fly ball to left. So we only got 2 runs there. But on 2 hits. So the White Sox take a 3-1 lead here in the 5th inning, and it's the bottom of the 5th, so the Cubs have a chance to come back here. They have a lot of chances to come back because there's still a few more innings. And Gabby Hartnett is the batter, and he gets a 4-3, which is going to be a ground ball to first. That brings up Ryan Sandberg. He gets a 3-6. That's going to be a strikeout. That's the first strikeout for Doc White. And Ernie Banks is up, and he gets a 3-10, and that's going to be a single. runner is aboard. And Billy Williams is up. And he gets a 310, and that is a single as well. Let's see. With them, I'll try. It's a 1 to 15. It's a 1 to 17 with 2 outs. So we will try 1 to 17. Hold on. I do use the arms. So left field is a 0 arm. So it's a 1 to 15, 1 to 17, and he does make it. So the Cubs have runners at first and third with 2 down. And Hank Sauer up. And he gets a 4-8, and that's going to be... That'll be a double and knock in 2 runs. Or no, 1 run. So 1 run comes in and Schulte is up. And that's going to be a 6-6. And that is a fly ball to left. So they do score a run. They still haven't tied us. A run on 2, 3 hits. So they're out hitting us, but they only got 1 there. And now the score is 3-2, all-time White Sox lead. And we're batting in the top of the 6th. Carlton Fisk is the batter. He gets a 2-7, which is going to be a single. Pappas, that is the 10th hit he's given up. And so the Cubs are going to consider going to the bullpen here. They will bring in Emil Cush because he can go the distance. He can go long. He's a long reliever. He had 91 innings pitched in 1947, which is the year of his card. And let's see. And Joe Jackson is now up. He gets a 210, which is a ground ball pitcher double play. And that brings up Robin Ventura. Robin High Ventura gets a strikeout. So this is actually Cush, Emil Cush, with the strikeout. And we got 1 hit, but no runs. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning with the all-time White Sox leading the all-time Cubs 3-2 with Heine Zimmerman up. I've got as the batter. He gets a 6-8. That's going to be a single. And with that, the White Sox are going to go to the bullpen. And we will bring in Don Paul. Don Paul, this is his 1991 card. He pitched 59 innings and had a 241 earned run average. Mark Grace is up, and he gets a 5-8. That is a fly to center. Andy Pafko comes up. He gets a 3-4. That is a ground ball to the third baseman, 5-3. Let's see, what is that? 3-4. Nope, that's a double play. So that'll be a 5-4-3 double play, and it ends the inning. The Cubs got a hit, but no runs. And we go to the top of the 7th. It's getting late for the Cubs, but it's only a 1-run deficit for them, as Luke Appling steps in against Emil Kush. That is a 4-7. That is going to be a walk. Kush walks a man. And now Ping Bodie is up. Ping Bodie has a hit today, but that's going to be a strikeout. One down, and Lewis Robert up. He gets a 1-6, and that is going to be a double. Now, we will check the running on Appling. He's a running 1-14, and that's to left field. That would be a 0. It'll only be a 1-14. I think with 1 out, I'm going to hold him up, and Eddie Collins comes up with a 4-9. And a 4-9 is going to be a line out to third base. So that might be a critical decision that I shouldn't have made, but Frank Thomas is up. He gets a 5-5, and that is going to be a fly ball to right field. So there I got 1 hit and no runs. We go to the bottom of the 7th. Bottom of the 7th, it's 3-2. Anybody's game. Still, Don Paul is still out there. Gabby Hartnett is up. He gets a 6-8. That is going to be a walk. So Hartnett getting a walk. Paul with the first man that he's allowed on base, which brings up Ryan Sandberg, and he gets a 3-8, and that's going to be a walk. So he's walked the first 2 batters. Not a good sign. Not good at all. And Ernie Banks is up. And Ernie Banks gets a 3-11, which is a single. With no outs, they're not going to risk it. They're going to just go station to station for right now, because a run seems inevitable with the bases loaded and nobody out. And Billy Williams up. And he gets a 1-6, which is a double, and knocks in 2 runs. And they will take the lead on that. Hartnett and Sandberg score on that. And Paul is getting dismantled here. Hank Sauer is up. That is a 3-3, and that's going to be a strikeout. And with that, I'm going to go back to the bullpen. And we're going to bring in Ed Farmer. Write him in. And Wildfire Schulte is the batter. Knock that off kilter. That is a 5-5. And 5-5 on Farmer is a strikeout. And I think that is it. Strikeout, strikeout. Nope, it isn't. That's only 2 outs. And Zimmerman's up. And he gets a 5-10, and that is going to be a strikeout as well. So Farmer comes in, puts out the fire by striking out 3 batters, but the Cubs get 2 runs and take the lead in the game by the score of 4-3 as we go to the 8th. They got 2 runs on 1-2 hits. Paul Konerko is the batter. Paul Konerko has a home run this game. He accounted for one of the White Sox runs. He gets a 5-8 on Cushion. That's a strikeout. Carlton Fisk is the batter with 1 down. He gets a 4-10. That is going to be a fly ball to right. And that brings up Joe Jackson. Shoeless Joe gets a 2-7, and that's going to be a ground to third base, 5-3. No runs, no hits. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Bottom of the 8th, Farmer's still out there. 4-9 is a walk. Mark Grace is aboard with a walk. That's the first base runner that Farmer has allowed. And Andy Pafko is up, and he gets a 1-8, which is going to be a single. That is only a 1-base single, so that's the only advancement that can happen. But more importantly, the first 2 Cubs have reached base. This inning, and Gabby Hartnett is up. He gets a 6-10. That is going to be a ground ball C to second base, but that will allow runners to advance. And now runners are at second and third with 1 out, and I'm going to bring the infield in. Ryan Sandberg, I hate doing that, but I will here. But that's a ground ball to the shortstop, and it's an out, but it would have been a double play, except I had the infield in. So 6-3. Now the infield's obviously back, and Banks is up. And he gets a 4-6, which is going to be a single and not going to run. And Billy Williams is up. That's a 5-9. That is a strikeout. So we got, they got 1 run on 1-2 hits. And the Cubs now have 2, 4, 5, and we have 3. So it's 5-3, top of the 9th. The White Sox have to score 2 runs, and they will take Cush out and bring in a new reliever. And that's going to be Pedro Strop from 2013. He had 35 innings pitched, but he had a 283 earned run average. Ventura is the batter. That is a 5-7, and that is going to be a fly ball to center field. Luke Appling is up. We're down to just 2 outs now. He gets a 2-8. That's a ground ball to the third baseman, so that's a 5-3. And up comes Ping Bodie, our last hope, Ping Bodie. And he gets a single, so he keeps us alive here. And that brings up Lewis Robert. And that went under the thing, and it's a 5-7. 5-7 on Strope is going to be a fly ball center field, and that is it. The game is over, and we lose by the score of 5-3. 2, 3, 4. Yep, 5-3. The Cubs, the all-time Cubs, have beaten the all-time White Sox 5-3 here at Wrigley Field, and that will be it for me, Sportsman Z Bob Zuhlke, signing off.